So as I changed the title of my presentation before, and I've got 7 minutes, so I will keep it very brief, and I'll try and make sure that there's some good takeaways for people who want to know more and cover that at the end. But essentially what I want to talk about is a message really for sales and revenue leaders, but also for the BDRs, AEs who are obviously ambitious. You're on here for a reason. You want to get better. So I want to really send a message to those sales and revenue leaders, also about how we can help them as well. Because one thing, and I mentioned it on my LinkedIn post, and I'll get onto it, is the one thing or the two things that keep sales and revenue leaders up at night are, one is sales productivity, obviously, how their teams are producing, and also when they're in hyper growth or fast growth mode, how quickly their new hires can be effective. Now, maybe that's not enough to understand why that keeps them up at night, but I'll put a bit more meat on the bones there. So hopefully you've all heard of the game craps. It's played in Europe, played in the US. Essentially, craps is a negative expectation game. What that means is it's impossible to beat over time. So the longer you stay, the more you will lose. It is mathematically impossible to beat craps. So you either win quickly and get lucky and run, or you will lose. I haven't got time to get you guessing, but have a think about what your percentage chance of winning at craps is. And the answer to that is 49.3%. So it's a mathematically negative expectation game. If you play it over a long enough time, you will definitely lose. It is impossible to beat, and 49.3%. That brings me on to what percentage of a forecast, and I'm not talking about just pipeline, I'm talking about committed pipeline, what percentage of forecast deals actually close? The answer is 46.4%. So in a quarter, it is actually probably better for the sales leader to go and play craps than it is to bank on their committed pipeline. That is why at the end of a quarter, at the end of a year, the sales leaders who are really working on odds on average across BDB, working on odds worse than playing craps, are not actually interested in how much training sales have completed. They're not interested in how many smiley faces were given by salespeople who had 2 days in that quarter out of the field. What they're interested in is, where's the pipeline gone and why is it all evaporated in the last 2 weeks? And that really comes down to sales readiness. And Mindtickle is all about sales readiness and helping those organizations to help their sales teams actually be ready and actually close business and retire quota. And that's all we care about. And that's all our customers care about. Ken Blank is one of them. All they are interested in is helping their sales teams close business and retire quota. Now, the good news is salespeople don't actually want the stuff that is actually hurting them, which is generic training, tick box learning, being asked to complete courses. And this is where I'm going to ask, I can't personally see in the chat, but I will check afterwards. If you're a salesperson or a BDR and you agree or disagree, I'm really keen to get your comments. But what salespeople, we believe, and I believe, don't want is too much information at the wrong time, or brochureware messaging. None of that is helping them actually sell. And obviously I've gone for a future world state where we move from being bored on Zoom to being more bored in real life. Salespeople don't want this. What they want to do is be more effective. And if we look at what they want to sell more and they want to sell it faster, which is exactly the same as what the executive team want. So this is what fundamentally underpins the Mindtickle approach and what we believe in. And essentially that is about sales readiness. The difference is it's not just about being given the knowledge. It's not just about having a brochure. It's about having the knowledge, skills, the coaching interventions, the coaching feedback, and the ability to execute that actually helps those salespeople perform. I'm not going to get into too much about what that actually means today because I've only got 7 minutes, but essentially that's what we're talking about in terms of readiness versus learning and training on a generic basis just to tick a box. Final piece is, if you're looking at readiness and you're a Mindtickle customer and you're looking at doing this in the CRM, this is how you correlate the impact of your programs and initiatives, which don't need to take weeks and months or even hours. They can be short, sharp initiatives that have a real impact on revenue. And that's really what we care about. So in terms of how sales leaders working with sales enablement should go about this, in our opinion, is reject the low value metrics that are often spoke about. No one really cares about participation. Smiley faces on a quiz or net promoter score. I'm not saying that we should just do away with them entirely, although I wouldn't mind if we did. However, as part of that, we need to have far more focus, and we need to be focusing on, and this is sales enablement, helping the sales leaders, because this is where we get those early warnings about, are they ready? So readiness, not training. Anything that takes a salesperson away from talking with a prospect or a customer needs to be short, sharp, and tied to key initiatives and outcome obsessed. So what we're talking about is, if we're going to do something today, we want to do it as quickly as possible. Maybe it's via mobile, maybe it's via Zoom or whatever, but we need to get it over and done with and reinforced and actually having an outcome in the field that week or the next week at the latest. And in terms, I've got no idea how long this is going, but I don't think I've got to the 7 minutes yet. In terms of what needs to be done, we need the right people in these enablement roles, people like Ken Blanket, Infoblocks. These are the right people who are sales and outcome focused. They should have a seat at the same table as a CMO, the CRO, supporting sales leadership, working with sales leadership to help them achieve their objectives, and shift from tools and box ticking and focus on programs that have outcomes. And if there aren't any outcomes, then it shouldn't be supported, and it shouldn't really be taking salespeople out of the field. If you want to know more about this, and I've tried to keep this as a high level as possible, I was told not to do any slides, so I did 18. If you want to know more, post any feedback in the chat. Whilst others are talking, I'm happy to answer any. Connect with me on LinkedIn. As you can see, visit Mindtickle. And James, you would be disappointed if I didn't plug myself on Clubhouse. So there we go. That's it. Thanks all.